Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me in this video. Today is Friday, the 27th day of June 2025. Breaking news: Kenya court declares Nnamdi Kanu's abduction and rendition to Nigeria illegal, awards 120 million naira in damages. Kenya court declares Nnamdi Kanu's abduction and rendition to Nigeria illegal, awards 120 million damages against the Kenyan government. Now, we expected this judgment before now. I think we expected it last year, but special thanks to Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, who led the Nnamdi Kanu's defense team or legal team in Kenya to challenge the kidnap or the adoption of Nnamdi Kanu and his transfer to Nigeria. And today, the Kenya court has said that that is illegal. So, I think it is very important we applaud the Kenyan court, also P.L.O. Lumumba and his legal team. This is a very good thing for Nnamdi Kanu. I know that Kenya's court don't have jurisdiction in Nigeria, but it has a lot of things to do with current Nnamdi Kanu's case. Now, if the process of transferring Nnamdi Kanu, a court of competent jurisdiction in Africa has already, struck out what Nigerian government through Malami that time said that they did it in a legal way, that they connived with the Kenyan government, with Interpol. They lied. They put up a lot of lies. I'm talking about Malami, former Attorney General of the Federation, who recently joined Obedient Movement now that P2B has welcomed. They lied. They put up all sorts of lies. So today, the court has shamed them one more time, telling them that what they did was kidnap, that is not what they are supposed to do. And Kenya government, the court said that they owe Nnamdi Kanu, protection, because Nnamdi Kanu came into the country in illegal means, so someone cannot just come and kidnap him and take him away like that. Now, when Sunday Igboho was arrested in the Republic of Benin, the Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, sent helicopter, is it helicopter or private jet, something like that. They sent it to Benin Republic for them to bring him back to Nigeria. The Republic of Benin said, no, it doesn't work like that. This is our territory. You don't decide on what we do. We have to try this person in the court. If it worth taking him back to Nigeria, we'll take him back. But if he's running away for his life, if he has the right to run away, then we can leave him to go wherever he's going. And at the end, they left Sunday Igboho to travel to Germany and Germany to London. He started living his life. That is the way it's supposed to be. Now, let's go through this article to understand what transpired. It reads that a high court in Nairobi, Kenya, has ruled that the abduction and detention of the Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya and his subsequent rendition to Nigeria in June 21 were unlawful and illegal. End of discussion. Yeah, this is end of discussion. So, anything that happens after Nnamdi Kanu's adoption ought not to happen. I'm talking about all these, what they called court cases. It ought not to happen because the process by which Nnamdi Kanu was brought into Nigeria was illegal. Now, the only place maybe Nigerian government could have argued with court is if the Supreme Court has not said that Nnamdi Kanu did not jump bail, that the military illegally again invaded his house, that led him to leave the country. All these things can only happen in Nigeria. Now, the article continues. Delivering the judgment, Justice E.C. Mwita held that the actions of both the Kenyan and Nigerian governments amounted to gross violation of Kanu's fundamental human rights as protected by their respective constitutions. The court also awarded Kanu 10 million Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to 120 million naira, in compensatory damages against the Kenyan government for its role in the unlawful abduction and rendition. So the Kenyan court has officially found the Kenyan government guilty and, in collusion with the adoption of Nnamdi Kanu. Remember that Minister of Information in Kenya had a press briefing denying that the Kenyan government don't know anything about the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu when the hits started coming up. You know what? That was more indictment on the part of the Kenyan government. So you mean that someone entered your territory, came to your country, kidnap someone and leave your country without your notice, came down in your airport. So I think that was one of the arguments that Professor P.R. Lumumba's team argued in court, that it is not possible. You can't deny that. Now, the article continues that Justice E.C. Mwita said, having considered the pleading and arguments by parties, the decision relied on the Constitution and the law. I come to the following conclusion. First, the government of Kenya violated the Constitution and Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's rights and fundamental freedoms. Having entered Kenya lawfully, he was subject to the protection offered by the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and the government of Kenya had an obligation to uphold and protect his rights and fundamental freedoms. 2. Mr. Nnamdi Kanu was, however, abducted, kept in solitude, confinement, torture, and denied food and medication, a breach of basic rights. He was chained, humiliated, ridiculed, and held in contempt, and later forcibly removed from Kenya without following the law in violation of the right and fundamental freedom for which the government of Kenya is liable. 3. Based on the above conclusion, the court makes the following declaration and order it considers appropriate. A declaration is hereby issued that the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu, holding him in incommunicado confinement, torturing him, and denying him food, water, medication, and other basic necessities was a violation of his rights and fundamental freedoms. A declaration is hereby issued that the abduction and subsequent forcible removal of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya to Nigeria was in violation of the laws of Kenya. His rights and fundamental freedoms, including freedom of movement and security of the person guaranteed by the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and therefore unconstitutional and illegal. An order for compensation is hereby issued awarding Mr. Nnamdi Kanu general damages of 10 million Kenya money, that is equivalent to 120 million naira, against the Attorney General of Kenya on behalf of the government of Kenya for violation of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's constitutional rights and fundamental freedoms. Meanwhile, the Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB has hailed the judgment as a landmark victory, saying it vindicates the group's long-standing position since what it described as the sham and farcical trial of its leader in Nigeria. A statement signed by the IPOB spokesperson in a powerful read. The Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB wishes to formally announce a resounding judicial earthquake that has taken the legal foundation of the fraudulent rendition of our leader, Nnamdi Kanu. In a historic, courageous, and landmark judgment delivered on June 24, 2025, the High Court of Kenya, sitting in Nairobi, found that abduction, incommunicado detention, torture, and illegal transfer of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya to Nigeria in June 2021 was unlawful, unconstitutional, and a gross violation of his fundamental human rights under Kenya and international law. This judgment vindicates our consistent position that what transpired in Nairobi in June 2021 was not extradition but extraordinary rendition, a criminal act of state-sponsored international terrorism involving the highest authorities of the Nigerian and Kenya government. We are grateful beyond measure to the brilliant legal leadership of Professor P.L. Lumumba, lead counsel in the Kenyan litigation, whose courage, clarity, and tenacity led to this monumental legal victory. IPOB also extend heartfelt appreciation to Kenyan judiciary, especially Honorable Justice E.C. Mwita, who stood tall against ferocious political interference and international diplomatic pressure to deliver a fearless judgment grounded in law, morality, and constitutional justice. We know and now the world must acknowledge that Nnamdi Kanu did not commit any crime in Kenya. He entered Kenya lawfully as a British citizen. He was abducted in broad daylight at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport by agents of Nigerian Secret Police in collusion with rogue elements of the Kenyan security apparatus. He was chained, tortured, detained, medication, and eventually bundled into a private jet that flown illegal that flown illegally to Abuja without any extradition hearing or judicial warrant. This verdict places a permanent and indelible legal stain on the records of former presidents Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, and former Attorney General Abubakar Malami and their accomplices. It also exposes the criminal lobbying mission embarking upon by the Nigerian leaders from Buhari, Osibanjo to Tinubu and Shetima, all of whom tried and failed to manipulate Kenyan judiciary to cover up this international condemned act of extraordinary rendition. Let it be known that this is not the end. This is the beginning of the global accountability campaign. All those responsible in Kenya, Nigeria, or elsewhere shall be pursued to the ends of the earth under the universal principle of accountability for crimes against humanity. Neither British diplomatic complicity nor cowardly silence from Western powers will share the perpetrators from the legal, diplomatic, and moral reckoning that is coming. Now, this is the last paragraph of the article. It reads that Justice Isi Mwita, we say thank you for your judicial bravery to Professor P.L. Lumumba and his team. We salute your exceptional advocacy to the oppressed people of the world. This is your victory. A warning to tyrants and international borders. We no longer share criminals regime from justice, the statement added. So this is the end of the article. Now, the question here is, what is important of this judgment? The importance of this judgment simply states that Nigeria courts don't have the jurisdiction to try Nnamdi Kanu because he was kidnapped and brought to court when he did not jump bail. You can't send military to go and kill him according to the Supreme Court. He fled for his life, you kidnapped him, you brought him, and you now present him before the court. It doesn't make sense. This is the problem. So, let's see what Justice James Omotosho is going to deliver from the 18th day of next month, that is July. I think from the 18th before July ends, we shall see the end of everything. There are a lot of things someone ought to have done or someone's supposed to be doing, but the detention of Nnamdi Kanu is like an event that is holding down a lot of things. However, the detention of Nnamdi Kanu, as I used to say before, is going to bring security. Yeah, it is going to bring security. We are not saying this because we want people to understand why he must be released. We are saying this because that is the reality. The freedom of Nnamdi Kanu, his release, is going to bring security, especially to the old eastern region. I'm talking about the southern part of the country, the eastern part of the country. His influence alone can generate fear to criminals that someone is there. The criminals in Nigeria no longer fear the government because they are partners in crime. They are partners with so many government officials in crime. This is proven. This is on the national televisions. This is on the internet. Everywhere, what we are saying could be justified. To the extent that someone who has served in Nigerian intelligence, Commander Kundo Laomi, who have been in the Nigerian security, defense service for over 35 years, came to national television to speak out the truth about the complicity of the government in crimes, in terrorism in Nigeria. Someone who is the head of defense intelligence agency is saying, no, DSS, everybody is aware of all these crimes in Nigeria, but nobody is saying anything about it. This is what Nnamdi Kanu stands for. This is what everybody fighting for all this agitation stands for. It is only a wicked heart or a coward. We see his people dying unjustly, see the plan that they will use to eliminate your people, and you will still keep quiet. So I think that is what Nnamdi Kanu stands for. And the people who truly want to Islamize Nigeria, according to Kundo Laomi, who is the head of Nigeria Defense Intelligence Agency, who was the head of Nigeria Defense Intelligence Agency for over 6 years and have served in Nigerian Navy for 30-something years. He said this, I'm not the one saying it. So if such a person can bravely come to the national television to make such accusation, who am I not to believe him? So it is what it is. The freedom of Nnamdi Kanu is significant, and we look forward for his release.